Hey, how's it going? My name is Gabby. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be starting a new thriller and horror reading vlog. And in this video, I'm planning to read 5 very recently published thriller and horror books that have been on my most anticipated list that I'm very excited to get to. But before we do jump into the books, I wanted to say a huge thank you to today's sponsor, which is a new sponsor on this channel, which is Thrive Market. And Thrive Market is really cool because they are an online membership-based grocery store, and they're on a mission to make healthy living easy and affordable to everyone. By using Thrive Market, you are guaranteed to be saving a lot of money because you can shop from thousands of the best-selling organic foods and natural products that are below traditional retail prices. And it's nice too because if you find a product that has a better price elsewhere, they will match it for you so that you're getting the best deal. And Thrive Market is really great because they have everything that you need, because not only do they have the organic groceries and the snacks and the supplements, they also have other things like eco-friendly cleaning supplies, non-toxic beauty items, personal care items. They have wine, they have meat and seafood, and they have frozen veggies. Like, there's so much on their website. It's really helpful too because you can filter their catalog for different products that you're looking for, and you can filter it based on, your diet and lifestyle habits. You can filter it based off of which brands that you're looking for or which products that you're looking for. And it's nice, because whether you're gluten-free, vegan, or on a keto diet, they have many different options available for you. They do have a monthly membership option, which is $9.95 a month, or you can do a yearly membership for $59.95, which only comes out to about $5 a month. They sent me a box of groceries to share with you because they have some of my favorite things there, like for example these rolled oats, freaking fantastic to make oatmeal with. They have these organic white rice packets, which we eat a lot of white rice in my house, so we will go through these very quick. I'm very excited to try this gluten-free chocolate cake mix. They also have one of my favorite brands, Nature's Path organic granola. Like, this stuff, the pumpkin flax granola, is freaking god tier. I also found a few different snacks that I've always been interested in trying every time that I'm at the store, and that is this Boom Chicka Pop popcorn. I got the white cheddar flavor, and then also Annie's has these really cute like cheesy cheddar puff looking things that look so good. I was also able to grab a few things of potato chips, and also my favorite thing in this world, which is raw pine nuts. Oh my goodness, like, raw pine nuts are good just to eat by themselves, but they go really good on charcuterie boards or on salads. I also am so excited that they have the brand of Justin's classic almond butter because this is so freaking good. And then I was also able to pick up a few different cleaning supplies, because as I said, they literally have everything. They've got the food, they've got the cleaning supplies, like everything you need on your grocery store run is available with Thrive Market. Yeah, be sure to click the link in my description or go to thrivemarket.com/gabbyreads to get 30% off your first order and a free gift up to $50 in value when you sign up for Thrive Market today. Thank you so much to Thrive Market for sponsoring today's video. And now you might be asking yourself, which books am I going to be reading for this video? The first book that I'm planning to read for this video is called Just Like Mother. This is a recent horror book that just came out in the month of May or June, I'm pretty sure. And this is one that I'm just so freaking excited about. I don't really know anything about this book, to be honest, other than it involves these two girls that were cousins and they were like involved in a cult. And now there's like, it involves babies or like motherhood in some way. I don't really know. And then I'm also planning on reading the book The Island. This is a thriller that just recently came out, and this is the same author as The Chain, which is why I'm really interested in reading it. I'm also really interested in reading this one because my friend Ashley over from Ashley's Little Library recently read this one and really loved it. She said it's her favorite thriller of the year so far. So I'm going into this one extra hyped knowing that my friends have loved it. And yeah, all I really know about this one is that it's a thriller where like a family's on a vacation and then it's like vacation gone wrong kind of trope, which I freaking love in thrillers. So fingers crossed that I enjoy this one. For these first 2 books, I was able to get the audiobooks from my library, so that's how I'm going to be consuming these books. I'm also planning on reading Firstborn by Will Dean. This is an art copy that I was recently sent by Atria. This one actually goes on sale July 5th, so it's not quite available yet, but it will be soon. And all I really know about this one is that it's a thriller that follows these twin sisters, and one of them dies unexpectedly, and then it's kind of like following the other twin and her trying to figure out what actually happened to her twin sister. I'm also planning on reading Hide by Kirsten White in this, and this is a recently published horror novel. Literally the main reason why I want to read this is because of this premise. It just says a high-stakes hide-and-seek competition turns deadly in this dark supernatural thriller. So like, need I say any more? Like, this one sounds amazing. And then the last book that I'm planning to read for this video is We Can Never Leave This Place, which this one is actually a horror novella. This one is publishing in the month of June. I don't think it's out at the time that I'm posting this video, but it will be out very soon. And you know, this is from the same author as Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke. I recently just read his book last month, You've Lost a Lot of Blood, which I really loved, and so really excited for this one. I don't know much about this one. All I know is that it's a horror novella, and it's kind of like dark fantasy vibes. Like, that's what I hear. But again, I'm just gonna jump into this one without really knowing anything, because with novellas, I feel like I don't want to know, you know, because it's so short. It's about 100 pages long. So like, I'd rather go in not knowing anything. So yeah, those are the 5 books that I'm planning to read for this video. I started with Just Like Mother, so I will send you back to about a week ago when I began. Hello, how's it going? Today is the first day of June, and I'm just so excited that it's finally June. I'm excited to kick off all of my reading for June because I have so much that I'm looking forward to. But I wanted to let you know that I'm currently listening to the audiobook for Just Like Mother, and as of right now, I'm 46% of the way into it, so I'm about halfway through it already. I just started it yesterday, and oh my gosh, this book is wild so far. Essentially, we're just following these two, you know, women who we follow them when they were children at the beginning of this book, and they were both a part of this cult, and then they were able to escape the cult and they went on to live very different lives. But now her cousin is reaching back out to her in her adulthood, wanting to reconnect, and it's about how they're reconnecting. And this horror book has a lot to do with motherhood. I feel like I can't really talk about like what exactly is happening in this book without being like spoilery, because I reread the, you know, premise of this book because I was like, okay, how much does it tell you? But I feel like the things happening in this book right now are major like Servant vibes. Like, if you've seen the Servant Apple TV show, then I feel like that's like the same kind of vibe that I'm getting from this book right now, which is just like really creepy. And I feel like, at least for me personally, as somebody who doesn't really want kids, it's especially creepy to me, you know, because of like things that are happening in this book. And you know, I knew it was gonna, you know, be about motherhood, obviously, because the book is literally called Just Like Mother, and there's a freaking baby like on the cover. So I knew it was gonna have something to do with this, but I wasn't exactly expecting this. Like, I'm really enjoying where this book is going right now. Like, I will say, I think if you go into this with really high expectations, it's kind of a slow burn, you know? Like, this definitely feels like one of those like really slow burn horror books where there's not a lot of like intense things happening. It's just a lot of very like subtle kind of creepy things that are happening to these characters. But like, I don't know, I'm freaking here for it. I'm kind of loving it. I'm so curious to see where it goes to, you know, because this book is getting mostly like mixed reviews on Goodreads right now, but I see so many reviews saying that the ending is crazy and like wild, and so I'm really excited to see like where it's gonna go. I'm just gonna be laying here in bed this afternoon, you know, listening to this on audio. My friend Olivia is currently doing some reading sprints on her Patreon, so I'm just going to be watching those, and then also catching up on some things that I have to do on my laptop. So I'm just going to be listening to this on audio while I'm like doing a few things and doing some laundry and, you know, just like getting shit done today. Hi, it's literally like I finished this audiobook like 2 seconds ago, and I'm just sitting here like, what the fuck? That ending. What? Like, I think I need to go back and just re-listen to that epilogue so I can like fully have that sink in right now, because I'm like, did I just listen to that correctly? Like, whoa. That was creepy. I really liked the ending. I feel like this book, gosh, I don't know how I want to rate it overall or how I like feel about it overall, because there are so many things that I love about this book, you know, because I love how at the beginning of this book we start with this like really creepy scene, you know, when they're really young girls, and there's like this creepy, almost like kind of like Bloody Mary, you know, kind of thing happening between the two girls. And then I love how a lot at the beginning of this book, it's about them reconnecting as adults, you know, and we just kind of follow our main character. She's like living her life and she's reconnecting with her cousin, and it's like really special to her. But then she very quickly, you know, starts to realize that her cousin is involved in some freaky ass shit that involves like motherhood and babies and stuff like that. I feel like, you know, as someone who reads horror and thriller books pretty often, I wasn't too surprised by the direction this book ended up going. Like, I feel like if you've read a lot of horrors and thrillers, this probably isn't gonna surprise you very much, at least with like most of the direction that the book goes in. I was kind of like, okay, yeah, saw that coming a little bit, even though I was still kind of like uncomfortable, and I found it to be very disturbing. And especially, you know, for me, like as someone who doesn't really want kids and is in the same scenario as the main character at the start of this book, it was very especially disturbing for me to read, because I can't imagine being put in these scenarios. I feel like I'm gonna be giving this somewhere between 3.5 and 4 stars. I really enjoyed my time reading this, and it was a very captivating audiobook, you know, because usually I get kind of concerned when I'm only listening on audio sometimes, because I feel like I won't be able to grasp everything that's happening because I don't have the physical text like in front of my face. But to be honest, this was a really engaging audiobook, and I was able to follow along with the audiobook pretty easily. The one thing that I will say was kind of difficult with this audiobook was trying to keep track of the timelines a little bit, because we do jump back and forth in time for like when they were younger girls. We do get scenes of that like later on in the book, and then we jump back to like present day when they're older, and it was a little bit tricky at times to know like which timeline that we were in. So like that was my only complaint with the audiobook. Otherwise, I really loved this audiobook, and like that ending was just like, I feel like the last, you know, like the last like 15 or like the last 10% of this book was just like, oh fuck, like I was just like, oh okay, oh shit. And then that last, like the last little bit of the epilogue, I'm just like shook. Like that was such the perfect way to end this book. I need to let it sink in, you know? Like I feel like the ending, because like this whole time I felt like the book was probably going to be like a 3.5 for me, but I feel like that ending probably bumped it up to a 4 for me, because I really liked that ending. So yeah, wow, I'm glad I read this one. I'm glad I started off June with a banger. I decided to wear this cute little shirt today that my mom got me, because it has a rainbow on it, which I just realized, like literally just realized right now. And so I thought it'd be perfect to wear for, you know, first day of June, first day of Pride. And I feel so productive, you know, I got so much done this afternoon. I was like watching the reading sprints with Olivia. I was doing laundry. I was catching up on some things on my laptop, like emails and different things. And then I also went to the gym. I was listening to a little bit of this audiobook at the gym, but you know, to be honest, I need to listen to like BTS or Megan Thee Stallion to get like motivated at the gym. And then, you know, came home, took a shower. I was like curling my hair, touching up my makeup, and then boom, audiobook is done. Like I love when I can feel productive like that. And then I'm also getting ready, because in about 2 hours I'm gonna be going and meeting one of my friends for dinner that I haven't seen in like literally almost a year. So I'm so excited to catch up with her. Hi babies. Look at these two. So cute. I just love staring out the window at cars like literally all day. Hello friends, how's it going? It's been a minute since I've last updated you. Last night I went out to dinner with my friend Liz, and I had an amazing time catching up with her. And then last night, right before bed, I ended up starting The Island on audio. I got 17% of the way in, so I'm only about an hour into this audiobook. But this is what I'm planning to read today. I had a kind of busy morning because I had to go and get my car's oil changed, and this was my first oil change that I've had with this new car, and I didn't realize that it takes synthetic oil. Ooh, it's so fancy, I guess, but it sucks because synthetic oil like ends up costing me more, so it was kind of expensive. And I went out to breakfast with my dad, and then I had to film my June TBR, and there was just like a lot going on this morning. But now it's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I just grabbed some iced coffee to help me get through this afternoon because I'm feeling kind of tired today. Planning on, you know, getting through a good chunk of this audiobook today. Like, I don't know, I kind of want to read this entire book today because this book sounds so interesting. The audiobook is only about like 8 hours long, so I feel like I can get through this one pretty fast. All I really understand so far is that we're following this family. So the main girl in this book, she has recently married this guy that already had kids, and so it's kind of about how she's trying to like get along with the kids and like fit into their family, you know? And so they're all from like Seattle area, and they decide that they want to take this vacation abroad, and they go to Australia. And then from what I understand, it's like a vacation gone wrong kind of scenario with this book. So I don't know exactly what's gonna happen yet. Like I read the very first kind of like gruesome, shocking scene right in this little last bit that I just read, so I'm invested. I'm already here. I'm like, let's go. I'm also taking notes on this book on my phone just so I can like stay, you know, connected to like what I'm listening to. Because sometimes with thrillers, it's like you never know. Like I really like having the book in front of my face so I can read the words, but at the same time, I'm able to like do so much more when I'm like listening to this on audio, and then like I can be sitting here like making my thumbnails and like doing other things, you know? So like I appreciate audiobooks for that reason, because I feel like I can multitask and get so much shit done and be more productive. Alright, hello. I wanted to update you because it's almost 4 o'clock in the afternoon right now, and I am 63% of the way through this audiobook. I've literally just been sitting here like almost all this afternoon just listening to this for like the last 2 hours. This is a bit more of like a survival story than I was expecting. I don't really know what I was expecting from this story, to be honest, but I feel like the story really starts with some action, you know, like right away we're getting some action and like some things that are happening to this family, and they kind of get separated and things are just like very intense. I feel like at this point, like since like around the 50% mark, I feel like it's starting to get a little bit repetitive, where I'm just kind of like, you know, it's like a situation where they're in constant danger and they're just needing to survive and getting to the next thing. And even though it is like really action packed still, I'm just kind of like waiting for the next thing to happen, or for like more to be happening in the story that would like further the plot, if that makes sense. So I'm feeling like it's starting to get a little bit repetitive, but I'm hoping, you know, it keeps up this fast pace and this action, because this book is just flying by. Like, it's so easy to get through. I don't know if I'm enjoying this one more than I liked The Chain, at least right now. Like, I don't know yet. But yeah, that's the update. Raining so hard right now that it rained all over my windowsill in my bedroom. Can you see? Can you hear the rain happening behind this window right now? Like, it's amazing. Anyways, you would never guess it's June, you know, in Washington. It just rains all the time. It's raining so hard. It's literally raining so hard. I'm just trying to, you know, film an update, and the street is just so freaking loud. But I wanted to let you know that I finished listening to The Island this afternoon. It's actually been about a day since I've last updated this vlog, because yesterday, you know, we went out to dinner, I came home and I watched a bunch of Ted Lasso with my mom, and then today I got my nails done, and I got them as like rainbow, you know, for Pride Month, and I kind of love them. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of this orange right here. I kind of wish I went with a pink instead, but very happy with these. But anyways, yeah, I wanted to let you know that I finished the book, and I feel pretty, I don't know, it feels pretty mid for me, if I'm being honest. I feel like it'll probably be like a 3 out of 5 thriller for me, because as much as I loved the beginning, you know, I thought the beginning of it was really strong, because as mentioned, I'm a huge fan of like the vacation gone wrong kind of trope in a book, you know, like that's one of my favorite things to read about in a thriller. So I was really vibing with the beginning of this book. I thought the first like third of it was really solid, but then I feel like even though this book was really fast paced, like I feel like the book was pretty fast paced throughout most of the book, I just kind of felt bored by it about halfway through the book. And I don't know if that's just because I didn't really care about any of the characters, like maybe that's why, but I just started to like lose interest. And so that's kind of the reason why I ended up not finishing it last night, because I wasn't really in the mood to read it. And then even this afternoon I was like, okay, like I really need to finish this book. So it wasn't like something that I was really wanting to pick up and finish, which I feel like is a bad sign. Like I just wasn't as invested as I expected to be, especially because I know a lot of my friends are really loving this book right now. So I think I went into it with a little too high of expectations. But what I will say is that this audiobook is fantastic. Oh my god, if you're gonna read this book, I highly recommend listening to the audiobook. There is like sound effects, there's like the sound of rain in it, there's gunshots, there's dogs barking, there's like music sometimes, like when things get intense. It literally sounded like an action movie at the end. Like there's this whole scene where there's like a shootout and stuff's happening, and it's just like bang 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 bang, and like there's dogs barking, like it was so cool. So one of the coolest audiobooks I've ever listened to, so highly recommend this one on audio. But I don't know, as a thriller for me, I feel like I can see why a lot of people are really loving this. It just wasn't really something I was super invested in. I don't know, like while it was intense, I just didn't care, I guess, as much as I wanted to, and and I don't think I had as much fun reading this book as I did with reading The Chain. You know, I feel like this author has a lot of really great ideas, but then I just never end up loving what actually happens in the story, you know? Like, I love the concepts and the ideas in his books, but then when I'm reading the actual stories, they just never really, like, work for me that well. But I still think The Chain is the superior book for me out of these two, because I had a lot of fun reading The Chain. I just wasn't a huge fan of the ending of that one, whereas this one, I really liked the concept and the idea of it, but it was just kind of not that interesting for me for some reason. I still think I'm giving it 3 stars because I had a mostly cool experience listening to this audiobook, and it was very memorable for those reasons. Yeah, anything else you would like to add, Dinky? Anything? No? He is happy that it's raining today, you know? Tank likes the rain for the most part, I think. Okay, I wanted to record a clip of this audiobook so you can hear what I'm talking about with the sound effects. I bumped down the speed so it's only 1.85 so you can hear it, but
obvious alpha. She aimed at its heavy flank. It was sleeping. She squeezed the trigger and the rifle cracked and kicked, and the dog rolled over in the dust. So much dust. The second dog stood up and began to bark. She pulled back the bolt and the brass cartridge exited with a ching. She loaded the next .303 round and aimed through the dust of the second dog. His torso.
There's also like rain sounds in the background of that. I don't know if you can hear it because it's raining so loud right now where I'm at. I don't know if you could hear from that clip like what was happening in that scene, but I also forgot to warn you that there's quite a bit of animal violence in this towards the end of the book that I was like not 100% on board with reading about. So I just wanted to warn you if you have like sensitivity to, you know, violence against animals, especially dogs. Yeah, it was pretty tough to read some of the things that were happening towards the end of this book, so just wanted to warn you about that. I'm sorry for the background noise of lawnmowers, but it's a Saturday morning, and where I live right now, that's just inevitable. But anyways, I wanted to update you because last night I finally got the chance to start Firstborn by Will Dean. You know, last night after we got some really heavy rain, which is so crazy because it's June, like it literally doesn't feel like June, but we got some really heavy rain, and so I was just sitting here in my room and I got 58 pages into this book just while I was, you know, chilling. And all I really knew about this thriller going into it, and I guess all that I still really know, is that we're following these 2 twins. I think they're originally from like the London, like UK area, but one of the twins was living in New York, and one of the twins just died. Like not the one we're following, obviously, but like her twin sister just died in New York, and her parents just call her right at the beginning of this book, and they're like, you need to come immediately. And you know, at the beginning she has this whole like speech about how she's like, twins aren't really identical, and we're not really the same, and like all this like weird, like I don't know, it seems like she's like not that happy about being a twin or something. They think she might have been murdered, and so she's like, okay, so like what the heck. And it's about how she's like, you know, talking to the police and they're trying to figure out what's going on. And I don't know, so far it's honestly read kind of like every other thriller I've ever read. Like it's very, you know, cliche so far, at least, you know, with like the phone call and then like, oh, how did she die, and like, oh, she was murdered. It's like we're discovering things very, you know, I don't know, it just feels like a lot of other thrillers that I read before, but I'm definitely curious to see where it goes. I feel like this is also the first time that I'm like reading a book without the help of an audiobook for a while. Like I haven't done this in a while, so I'm a little rusty, so it's taking me a little bit longer to read than it usually does with the help of the audiobook. But this morning I just went to one of my favorite local coffee places and I got a little coffee, and I also got a breakfast sandwich, and the plan for today is honestly just to like lay in bed and read. It's like 2:30 in the afternoon now, and I wanted to update because I'm 227 pages into this book and I only have you know, not that much left. I have about 150 pages left. So you're like, you know what? I still freaking got it, okay? I can still read a book within one day without the audiobook. Who needs it? But anyways, as far as an update on my feelings on this book, I feel so torn over this, you know, because as I said, the beginning was really slow. I was just like, okay, this feels so cheesy, so tropey, like I've read it before. But then I started to get invested, you know, because at the beginning of this book, it's like we're just following this girl, like her twin sister died in New York. She's trying to figure out who it could have been. There are a lot of suspicious people that were in her life. You know, her boyfriend was suspicious. There's this neighbor that was like a YouTuber that's kind of suspicious. Her best friend was suspicious. Even her freaking parents. I was like, okay, I'm onto them too. And then, you know, around the 200 page mark, there's a twist and we kind of find out like what actually happened with her sister. And then it's like one of those things where, you know, I don't know how I feel about plot twists that are that big getting revealed halfway through the story, because then it's starting to make the rest of the book feel kind of pointless, because now it just kind of seems like we're finding out why and like leading up to like the aftermath and, you know, other things. But it's like I already have a grasp on like what's going on now. And also I feel like the twist was just not that great. I feel like the twist was just very obvious, and now I feel like I have a hunch on the direction of where this is all going, because I'm just like, oh my gosh. Anyways, as much as I'm, you know, just loving laying in bed right now and reading this, I thought it would be productive to go in the other room and curl my hair, just because I haven't really done my hair. It's been like washed for a few days and it's just like gross and annoying. So I think I'm gonna go in the bathroom and curl my hair, and while doing that, I think I'm going to start listening to this other book on audio, because I got the book Hide checked out from my library on audio, so I figured I would start this on audio while I'm curling my hair and just get a head start on this one, because this is another thriller that I'm really looking forward to reading for this video. So I am kind of obsessed, you know, with this book cover. I freaking do love this yellow, and then when you open the book, there's this amazing like map of an amusement park that looks all like spray painted on. It just looks so cool. And then I wanted to show you, because I thought it was really cool, the little blurb or like the dedication for this book says, "To the youngest generations we've tasked with saving us all, you shouldn't have to. I'm so sorry." Like, holy shit, isn't that so powerful? Like, wow, we're starting off great here. I'm excited. Let's go. How's it going? It's about 10:30 at night, but I wanted to let you know that I did get the chance to jump into Hide this afternoon while I was, you know, curling my hair and just getting some things done. I got all the way up to day 2, which puts me at about 62 pages in, and I want to say so far this book is just fine. You know, I think the thing that intrigues me the most about this book is that it's a, you know, kind of deadly, high stakes, you know, hide and seek game. Premise of this book is that there's a challenge. You have to spend a week hiding in an abandoned amusement park and not get caught. And I feel like, I don't know, because I just read Battle Royale last month, it's feeling very similar to like Battle Royale. And I see so many, you know, reviewers comparing this to things like The Hunger Games and like Squid Game and, you know, all these things like that. And I can definitely see that. You know, it's feeling like I've read things like this before. It's not feeling very original to me. And I also feel like the beginning of this book was kind of a struggle, because I feel like we've just gotten introduced to so many characters and I'm just struggling to keep up, if I'm being honest. I'm not like the biggest fan of our main character either. Like, so far. She's just kind of fine, but everyone's just reading kind of bland to me, you know, and the book just doesn't feel, I guess it just doesn't feel as atmospheric as I was hoping it would, at least so far. Like, I don't know. I've seen a lot of reviewers, though, say that the beginning of this is pretty, like, fine, and then it eventually starts to pick up with, like, the action and everything, so I am still looking forward to, you know, seeing what this book has in store, because, you know, I think the concept is just so interesting, so I am still excited for this. But I do think that for the rest of tonight, I'm going to try and finish up Firstborn, because I don't have that much left, and to be honest, at this point, I feel like I'm just gonna start skimming until I get to the end, because I'm just so curious to see what happens, and if I'm gonna be right about the direction that this book is headed in, but also because I want to save this one to read during the Patreon reading sprints tomorrow, and I think my mom is gonna join me on my Patreon reading sprints to read her book, because she's gonna be reading The Children on the Hill. Good morning. It is early the next morning. Okay, it's not that early. It's like 10:30. Such a late night. I didn't go to bed until like 3:30 in the morning because my stomach was just like so upset last night. I don't know what was going on. But anyways, I wanted to let you know that I finished reading Firstborn. I actually wasn't up that late reading. I was able to finish it pretty quickly because I was quickly losing interest in this book towards the end, and once I got to the end, I was kind of frustrated with where this book ended up going. The end reveal was just kind of, I don't know, it's kind of ridiculous, you know? It did go in the direction that I predicted that it was going, and I'm just frustrated by this. To be honest, I'm just kind of tired of seeing the twin trope in either thriller or horror books, because I feel like it always makes the reveals so stupid. I don't know, I guess I just expected more, you know, with this author. Like, I do think this author's writing has potential. I just wasn't really a fan of this particular story. So I do think I'm probably gonna end up giving this book 2 stars, because there were some aspects of this book that really intrigued me, but for the most part, it was a major letdown. But I still do think I'm interested in reading this author's first book, The Last Thing to Burn, because that one also does sound really interesting to me. And it's not necessarily his writing that I don't like, it was just the plot and the characters in this one that I just really didn't vibe with. But I'm still like open to the idea of reading more of his books, because it wasn't necessarily his writing that was bad. Anyways, today I'm planning on doing some Patreon reading sprints with my mom, and so I'm definitely planning on finishing Hyde today during these reading sprints. Well, hello friends, it's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon right now, and I just wrapped up my Patreon reading sprints because I finished reading Hyde while I was on the sprints. I know I'm sounding like so dramatic, and I hate to give books 1 star, but I feel like I need to give this 1 star because I just really did not have a fun time reading this book, and to be honest, the reason why I feel like I need to settle on a 1 star instead of like a 2 star is because I enjoyed this book significantly less than the books that I've given 2 stars. Like, usually if I give a book 2 stars, I can usually say like a few redeemable things about it, but it just didn't work for me personally. But with this book, I just don't have anything positive to say about it. I feel like this book, you know, it's trying to be very similar to a lot of other things that I think do a lot better of a job. With this book, I feel like it's very similar, you know, to Battle Royale, which I just read last month and I think is so freaking good. And I just think if you're gonna read something like this, just read Battle Royale instead, you know? It reminds me a lot of the Hunger Games, it reminds me a lot of Squid Game, it even reminds me a little bit of the Maze Runner. Like, it's definitely trying to be a lot of those things, but I feel like this book was just not great. And it's really frustrating to me, you know, how this book reads super young. You know, this reads kind of like a young adult book. From what I understand, this author has only previously published young adult books, so it makes sense, kind of. But like, I literally, when I was on my Patreon sprints, I was saying how I think these characters, like, I think they're about 18 years old, but like I couldn't really remember if they ever said an age, but I was like, if I had to guess, maybe 18 at the most. And then somebody on my Patreon was commenting, they were like, no, these characters are all like post-college or whatever. And I was like, what? Like, there's absolutely no way. Like, these characters all literally talk to each other like they're in high school. They all are like talking like bratty teenagers, and it's so annoying. I think though that that's the biggest disappointment about this book for me, is the fact that all the characters freaking suck. I didn't like any of the characters. I didn't like a single one of them. I thought it was just so boring because I didn't care about any of the characters. I feel like the game of like hide and seek that this entire book is based on wasn't as much of the story, or like there wasn't anything interesting ever happening in the game. It was like they were all just talking, like they were all just like sitting around talking to each other the whole time, and it was really boring. And then I hated how towards the second half of the book, we would just get a lot of flashback like chapters or like diary entries about like how the game started like back in the day, and we would get so much history, you know, about these games and how they started. But I didn't care enough about the game in the first place to care about how it started. Like I said, there's nothing redeemable about this book. I thought the ending was really like lame. I don't know, like the ending just like it was so anticlimactic, and it was just kind of ridiculous. You know, I'm like, okay, what is the message here? Like, this is another one of those books where it kind of feels like they're trying to shove a message down your throat. And while I don't necessarily disagree with like the overall message happening, it just feels like so forced, you know? I feel like there's a more authentic way to go about getting a message across, you know, to your audience. Yeah, I think I'm most disappointed just because I went into this one having some pretty high expectations because the premise sounded so cool. And it's just crazy because you would not expect a book with this premise to be as boring as it is, and to be as annoying as it is, with characters who literally read like they're 16 years old. And you know, I was planning on starting We Can Never Leave This Place during those sprints, you know, after I finished, but this just put me in such a bad mood after finishing this that I'm like, I don't want to read anything right now. Like, so I think I'm gonna save this for another time. You know, maybe I'll start this one later tonight. Maybe I'll save it for tomorrow. I don't know. Hello, it's the next morning, and you know, I didn't get any reading done last night. I actually just ended up hanging out with my mom for most of the night, watching some shows. We finished watching Ted Lasso. It was amazing. And now this morning, I was gonna go out and read somewhere like I usually do, but I woke up this morning and I was just like not really feeling that great. So I feel like it might have to be like stay in bed and read kind of day. But I think I'm gonna try to bust out the last book that I have for this video, We Can Never Leave This Place. Okay, hello. It's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I just finished reading We Can Never Leave This Place. It took me a little bit longer than I was expecting it to for me to read this book because, you know, to be honest, I went into this book not really knowing anything of what it was going to be about, because, you know, all I really knew going into this book is that this is an author that I really enjoy, and so that's pretty much all I knew. I didn't really know the premise going in, and this story is kind of like this dark horror, like fantasy kind of story where, you know, we're just following this young girl who's about 16 years old, and she's with her mom, and her dad has recently passed away, and so she's kind of dealing with that. But then it's also about how her mom kind of welcomes this unexpected guest into their home, and the guest isn't exactly human. And this was just very interesting, you know, very unique. I think for my particular taste, it wasn't my favorite book from this author. I feel like this book is a little bit more fantasy than I was personally expecting, but I do still think it has that same kind of like, you know, grotesque, kind of like gory horror writing style that I'm used to from this author. So I really enjoyed the style of the writing. It's just not exactly my kind of taste with a book. I feel like as soon as I finished reading this, my immediate thought was like, what the fuck did I just read? Which is, you know, pretty standard when it comes to like reading books from this author. I feel like I've felt that way about most of his previous books, but I feel like with this one, like, I don't know, it was just a little bit more fantasy than I was anticipating, and fantasy isn't something that I usually gravitate towards, so those elements of the story were kind of not like boring for me, but just not as interesting to me as some of his other stuff that I've you know, read from this author. But overall, I mean, I can confidently say that this is a very unique story. I can't think of anything to compare this to because I don't think I've read anything quite like this. And I would probably give this 3 stars because even though I can acknowledge like this is probably a really good story, it's just not necessarily for me. Like I don't think I'm the right audience for this book, but nonetheless, I still think that this author is an incredible writer. I think he's so good at writing horror, and he's really good at writing like grotesque horror that just like gets under your skin. So yeah, that is pretty much a wrap on this reading vlog. I am kind of sad to say like I didn't really find any new favorites in this entire video, and I think the book that I enjoyed the most that I read in this video is actually the first book that I read, Just Like Mother. I think that's the only one that I gave a, you know, pretty high rating to. I gave that one 4 stars. But everything else was pretty disappointing, which is kind of a bummer. But of course, I'm still glad that I, you know, took the time to do this video because now I'm able to knock a bunch of these books off of my TBR, and at least now I know. So please do let me know if you've read any of the books that I read in this video, or if you still plan to. Let me know what you're thinking. What did you think of them? Did you love them? Did you hate them? Let me know. And thank you so much for watching as always, and I'll see you very soon with a new video. Bye.